Hello everybody, Lawrence Fleming here on another beautiful hike. Now I say it's beautiful, but some of you might not like it. But I don't always do and think the way most people do, so call it crazy, but that's just the way I am. I think it might be in the 40s. Feels like it's in the 30s, but it's cold. That's why the hat. One thing I could have put on to help would have been a scarf, and I didn't think of it in time. But I'm out in nature, and I'm not worried about whether or not I'm comfortable. I am going to put my other glove on. There we go. Can't push the buttons on the screen, but okay, stop moving around. There we go. There's a couple of trails that I want to see if I can find, and I've seen the trails, I know where they go, I just don't know how they get there, so I'm going to find out. I've pretty much walked on everything here in the park. But I've walked from the campsite that I'm in. Now I'm having to walk to a trail that's not part of a campsite. We shouldn't have any more rain, and it's still overcast. And there's still wind blowing. This is a north wind. Don't have to tell you what that means. It is cold. For my friends that are up in the Northeast, you don't have to tell me it's cold. I have lived in the cold up there. I've lived in the cold out west too. I used to ski. Okay, so here's my sign, and it says water park. Yeah, I know where the water park is. Okay, 0.4 miles. I have a creek here, and I don't know whether I need to cross the creek or not. Both signs on both sides of the creek say water park, but the last thing I want to do is to have to ford the creek. So here's the creek, and it's continuing to run down to the river. But I'm going to play it safe, and I'm going to walk on this side over here of the creek. You do your best to plan. And then you just, make adjustments as you need to. The world is here. We have to continue living on it until God comes and gets us. The problem is you've got to be separate from the world. It tells us not to be conformed to the world, but to be transformed via the Spirit. Okay. I get the impression I'm not supposed to go this way. Okay, so I chose this side, and I was wrong, because it is blocked off, because that's the way they want me to cross the river. Yeah. Those steel girders would hold me, but I'd have to tiptoe along them. But if I come down here, I'm doing what I tried not to do the other way, and that's to have to walk across and to ford the creek here. Okay, went across the little plank, made it across. And I'm back where I would have been if I'd have taken my first choice. That's the part about exploring that I like. You don't know what you're going to run into. And that is why in our normal daily life, we need to be trusting God because we have no idea what's coming. The world wants you conformed to it. The extra stupid government rules that are out there. It's not what the acronym that they use means, but it's how I define it. Extra stupid government. They're going to use it to control you. And you don't have to agree with it, you don't have to like it, but you're going to have no choice. They can shut you down, they can take away your bank account, they can even have you arrested, thrown in jail, and throw away the key. This government is working like any standard dictating government in the world, whether it's Venezuela or Russia or Iran, they all behave the same. It's not do as I say to do, or hit the road. No, it's do as I say to do, or we'll destroy you. And the more that they can destroy, the bigger the event. It scares everybody else to follow along. So they don't mind making examples. Well, there have been horses through here. I can tell by the divots in the mud, and I could tell by the road apples back there a little while ago. Just watch where you step. So, in general, if the government wants you to do something and it doesn't conflict, does not conflict with God's word, do it. But if it does conflict, don't do it. Initially, they're going to, slip this in easily. They're going to make you decide yes or no so they know how to tag you with things that are not against God. Oh, they'll get to being against God eventually, but they want to slip this in past everybody else. When most of the people are conforming and you stand out for not conforming, then they may make an example of you. We have our escape route planned. Well, God does anyway. We haven't planned anything. So we just have to survive until God comes and gets us. And it doesn't take much to figure out how to survive. All the good people of YouTube that are putting up their videos that I've talked about in the past, plus mine, prep, be repentant, and stay close to God. It's real simple. You want to survive? Don't get out of God's reach. Don't say, wait here, I've got this, I'll handle it. You'll find out how quickly you don't. Because you can't anticipate any of this. You can't figure out what you can do and what you can't in a world that is being spiritually manipulated. We're not fighting flesh and blood, but against principalities, spiritual ones. You haven't got a chance in heaven to defeat Satan. None whatsoever. He's powerful enough that even Michael doesn't want to fight him, but he will eventually. Satan has a purpose up to a point. Okay, well, I see where I'm going now. I see the water park area, which of course is shut down. I don't know how I'm going to get to it. I've still got this creek in front of me. We'll find out when I get up here. The tactics of Satan are mislead you, lie to you, trick you. The Antichrist will be so good that even the elect might be deceived. That's his first tactic. If that doesn't work, smear campaigns. They get people just like, you've seen in the government when they didn't like, a justice that was going to go on the Supreme Court and they didn't like it. Out come the people that are being paid to lie. Saying all kinds of things. And not being able to back up any of it, of course, because it's all a lie. But when you get enough people saying the same thing, it's possible that you can influence a court. Especially if you've already paid off the judges. And in most of the cases, these smear campaigns have worked. So if you're prominent and you go against the establishment, they're going to destroy you. Look what they're trying to do with Musk right now. They're trying to destroy him. And they will succeed if they're allowed to continue. He may be wealthy, but that money is no good. Okay, I've got another sign. Ranger Headquarters. That looks interesting. Okay, well, you can see behind me the grassy area and the water park that's up there. That's where I stayed last time I was here a month or so ago. Not right here, but just off to the side. So now I am going to follow these signs and go see where the Ranger Headquarters trail is. How are we doing on time? Not too bad. We're seeing, our earthquake predictor is being harassed, and they're trying to put out things that he's lying and deceiving. And Twitter, although controlled by Musk now, they're still putting stuff out that they're getting the scientific community to come back and say, you cannot predict earthquakes. I have seen him do it repeatedly. Dutch sense, that is. And I know there's another one out there, and they've kind of a lightweight clone. You can predict earthquakes. You cannot predict the first one, perhaps, but you can tell where the reflections are going to go and where it's going to come out next, and that's what Dutch sense does. Ranger Headquarters, 1 mile. Okay. That one says half a mile, and that one says 1 mile. So one obviously goes further than the other. That's the one I want. I don't know if I make you go all the way with me, but as long as I'm still talking and I'm within my time window, you can enjoy the scenery with me. I don't know what's going to happen in Georgia with our runoff election coming up. I don't trust these election people any further than I can throw a battleship. They've already had a couple of close calls where votes came in at the last minute. Yeah, sure. You can't have, in an area that is red, have a whole bunch of blue votes come in at the last minute and not be mingled with red votes. That's impossible. Statistically, it's impossible. And yet they do that time and time again. A lot of the blues that were elected in this last election were probably elected through manipulation, not through honesty. Because I don't trust the blue any farther than I can throw that same battleship. But I have no proof. It's just that you can look at these things and go, how can this possibly be? This state has never voted blue, and yet it was completely overwhelmed with blue votes. Impossible. Honestly. But don't worry about it. Let them keep doing it. They're going to take the country the wrong direction. We're going to be unimportant in the events to come. We're not mentioned in the Bible, so it's obvious that the reason we're not is we're not important to the events coming. So don't worry about it. Do your bit. Vote like you're supposed to, but don't worry about it. If they steal it, they steal it. They're the ones that are going to pay the price. And it may not be on earth. They may be sealing their permanent eternity. Nobody can get away with cheating and stealing against God. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to go. Again, it's too cold to just sit at a bench, and the benches are still wet from yesterday's rain. I am going to just talk through this right now. I have listed a number of verses already in my talk. If you hear something, look it up. I usually quote enough of the verse that you can look it up. Okay. Our moon rocket is on their way to the moon. Musk could do it better and cheaper, but the government needs to be able to do that. If they get a government base on the moon, then they can say, well, we saw the aliens come by and abduct all the Christians. There's an ulterior motive to them doing this. It's not for the good of humanity. It may just simply be to pay off the loyal unions that have been supporting them by giving them this enormous contract, which is overrun. What is that? Well, it's a big bird. One of the things that's noticeable as I'm hiking through here is the fact that I can see things as I'm hiking through here. A month ago, all the leaves that are on the ground would be up on these trees, all except for the pine trees. Pine trees are still green, but all the other trees have almost shed their leaves. And you can see through the trees. can see why this is a mile around, because we're going I guess we're going northeast. I'd have to stop the video and see where I'm at, but it doesn't matter. And I need to go east, so we're going way out and around this one hill here. I don't know when the horses were here last, but these are not brand new. They've been rained on, eroded, so they're at least a week or two old. Well, I know pretty much where I am as far as the position in the park, because I was right on the other side of the creek before. Get these little mud holes right in the middle of the path. And they have all these horse prints which collect water. I am wearing my boots this time. I did change out and put my boots on. Tennis shoes are okay on general hiking trails, but they're not good for bad weather, for cold weather. These are better insulated boots. Just having the right equipment. I didn't go out and get my stove. I may wait until I go get my son to get what I need. But I did get my stove out of the car, my double burner stove, and I put that up where I could use it. And then I just heat hot water in a pan, and I can make tea, coffee, pour it into a meal bag if I'm using one of those, or ramen. Okay, I'm hiking up a hill. And it's so covered in leaves, you can't see the rocks underneath the trail. You don't see them until you step on it, and it goes sideways. Okay, now this trail goes two different directions, and it's marked, but there's no sign. All right. I'll go back this way, not looking for the shortcuts. As long as I'm working and expending energy, I'm keeping warm. So when you stop, that's when you have a problem. Okay, more paint on the sign going this direction, so we're okay. I think this is the only trail I haven't been on. So when I get this done, I will have covered everything here. I see that creek is still at the bottom, way down there, and I see buildings far away over there on the other hill. Looks like commercial buildings. Not sure what it is. I can't be going that way. I need to be going back to the right, but we'll see where this takes me. See, never be afraid to go off in a direction you don't know. You know, use your intelligence. If it's taking you into an area that's not safe, and you know it's not safe, you know, don't go it unless you're prepared to deal with whatever's there. I'm inside of a park and I'm walking on a marked trail. I'm not very concerned, but if I don't know where it's going, I'll eventually find out. So don't be afraid to try. Okay, what is that? It's some kind of a business because I see some large trucks, but that's outside the park. Stay on the trails. All these trails are marked. Every trail will have a color. Where is it? There. So, burnt orange. And every time you pass one of those, you should be able to look in both directions and see another tree, so you never are on your own. Okay, I'm finally cutting back to the direction I know I need to go. Just pay attention to the sun. The sun is up that way in front of me. It's about noon, I think, in looking at it. But just know that only on the equator will the sun be directly overhead, and you're into a season. And since this is winter, and the northern hemisphere is tipped away from the sun will be in a southerly arc. So now I am probably heading pretty much due south, making up from the fact that I was going north and northeast before. All right, let's see, what are we doing? We're about 27 minutes, so I guess that's good. I hope you enjoyed the hike as much as I do. Don't be conformed to the world. You don't have to do anything that God instructs you not to do, but He does tell you to obey the government. So if the government tells you to get a had to watch how I say that. If you feel the need for it, if you're not in the risk group, there's no reason why you shouldn't get it, because it's not the mark. If they go to digital currency, the currency itself is not the mark. It's how they're going to control you if you do not bow down to the beast, but it is not the mark itself. Bowing down to the beast to get the mark is where you can lose. Now, as Christians, we don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about it. But if you're not a Christian, you go that route and you're condemned to hell. I think that even if you were a Christian at that point, you would be still saved, but you might have to be martyred or something. It won't be pleasant. There will be Christians alive when the Antichrist is running about. There will be Christians killed during that time after we've been raptured, because the harlot will have the blood of Christians on her. When things start going bad, they're going to blame political parties and they're going to blame Christians and Jews. Guaranteed. Just like Rome did. Nero burned Rome and he blamed the Christians. We're going to repeat that here in a little bit. Hopefully we won't see much of any of that. Okay. Time for me to take my glove off so I can turn this off. We're seeing the clouds. God bless. Well, my solar panel is deployed. There's only one problem. Where's the solar? I have another day of cloudiness, so I have to wait until tonight, maybe tomorrow, before we have sun. I don't mean tonight, nighttime. I mean afternoon before the sun goes down. We're supposed to get a break in the clouds, but we'll have to wait and see. Last time I was here, it rained for 5 days, and I didn't see the sun. I had to plug my battery unit into my car when I drive into town and charge it up that way. Not economical. Still, it's a pretty view. And the temperature is currently 39. I think it's like 10 a.m., something like that.